right, so let's be a huge welcoming warm audience for our last storyteller, Chris.
Ooh, it just got really hot in here. I used to be a kid from Harlem, but now I'm a grown-ass man who's made a home for himself in Oakland. But the police don't really care about that. So I grew up in Drew Hamilton Housing, which is on 143rd and 8th Avenue. Go there if you've never been there. And when I was growing up, there used to be a police station right in the lobby of my building. So I never truly had a bad relationship with those police officers. My mom always told me to respect them and because they protect us. So that was always the thing in my mind when it came to the police. They're here to protect me. So fast forward, they move out of my building when I think I'm like before high schools, before like 9/11. And they moved to the train station, which is on 145th Street. So I'm like, okay, they're not here anymore, but they're here. They're still around. They patrol. They're in the neighborhood, things like that. And my friends and I hung out with a bunch of dumb boys from the projects, you know. I love them. Some of them are still my good friends. They're dumb, though. So we would do stuff all the time. We would just try to antagonize people on the street and just like say passive-aggressive things. Like, I wish they would talk to me. I wish someone would sit in my seat on the train as they're like sitting. So with that in mind, it's summertime. Summer's really hot in New York City. And we're all in high school, so we're really dumb. And we're just in front of the building. It's hot. It's inside of our apartments. We're melting. So we go outside to melt outside together, because that's community. So we're out there, and we're just shooting the breeze like we do. And we see our friendly neighborhood police people roaming around, patrolling, as they say they're doing. And one of my friends goes, I wish a police officer would talk to me and put me in cuffs right now. And they did. We were loitering in front of our own building. We had like undershirts and chanclas on. We had our IDs, we had our keys, but they still felt it necessary to accost us, tell us that we didn't belong there, even after we proved that we lived there. So that was my first instance where I was like, okay, F the police. I'm gonna listen to West Coast hip hop only. But after that, I never really had another, brush with the law. I was never truly like a kid that looked for trouble. It just kind of found me sometimes. So I go to college, I come back, and with the desire to not become a statistic, of staying in the projects. My goal was to get out and make a better life for myself so I can provide for my family. True American dream story, yada, yada, yada. But I found myself in California, a place I'd never been. And I've only had ever traveled up and down the East Coast, never been west of Philly. So there was a whole brave new world that I just couldn't even imagine. And so one of the first things I thought of when I was moving to Oakland was, what are the police like? And this was the year Trayvon Martin was killed, so like that was super influencing what I thought. But I moved to Oakland, and I didn't know anybody there, and I made my family of choice, and I still am. But part of that was understanding my place in that world and understanding what can I contribute, what can I do to better this place. Because I had always felt safe where I grew up. I'm Puerto Rican male, the only one in my family, so I grew up with like all women. And they just took care of me. They didn't let me do anything, really. It was very strict, but also very loving, which is a weird juxtaposition to have. So I always felt this sense of safety and remembering that the police are supposed to keep me safe, even though I don't feel safe around them. So in Oakland, part of my family of choice, I know some really cool people who own houses. I grew up in an apartment building with people on top of each other, 21 stories. My friends owned houses with lawns, green grass, like real. So There was one summer a couple years ago in Oakland where I had the opportunity to take care of one of my friend's houses and just, bring their mail in, make sure nobody's messing around. And one of the greatest benefits was having access to a grill. And something I learned in my California experience is meal prepping. They didn't know that was a thing in New York, but it's definitely a thing in California, so I highly suggest you do it, teachers. So I'm there. It's one nice evening in the summer. I'm getting my things ready. I had already cleaned up and tidied up, and I was getting ready to put that grill on. And so I go to the backyard, and I hear, "Freeze, don't move." And I turn to my left, and I see 3 guns pointing at me. It was the police. And the next 20 minutes of my life were kind of a blur, because all I kept thinking about was 2 things. I was safe, and I'm going to be a hashtag. And so those moments were really hard in terms of what happened. In short, I was cuffed. I was put into a police squad car. That's when they put the body cameras on. They didn't have them on before. And knowing the history of what's been happening in Oakland, what's been happening in our world to young brown people, I thought my life was over, quite literally. And so through process, they found the keys, they found my ID, they found my phone. We were able to call the owner, and she yelled at them on the phone and said, "Get the fuck out my house, he belongs there." That was great. But the one thing that I couldn't understand was there were 14 police officers there for just me. What threat did I pose? I have tried to be a good citizen. I work in education, and I felt safety in that. That not that I wasn't touchable, but that I was just doing the right thing. And how could this happen to me? And so over time, I've learned to kind of forgive that, but it still hurts. And every time I see a police officer now, I walk away. I go to the other side. There have been instances where I just put my hands up and just walk away. That makes me feel safe now. And it's a reality that I didn't think I'd have to live, but now it's just part of life. And in order to be happy or to be safe, in order to be the man or the kid that I want to be, that I just got to keep pushing forward and putting my best self out there and staying positive and spreading that as much as I can. Thank you.